Hello and welcome to Films on That. My name's Rob Turnbull.
And my name's Sam Hall.
And today, Sam, what are we looking at?
Annabella's The Love Witch.
And this was your pick. What made you choose it?
It's a recent film with a unique look.
Sounds
Sexy.
good. Sexy?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Let's get started.
Okay. Elaine is a young witch with an agenda. She wants the perfect man at any cost. But are her methods driven by desire or insanity? We explore this and more in The Love Witch.
What are you doing to me?
I'm the Love Witch.
This review contains spoilers. Okay, this film was made in 2016, but it's definitely a throwback to the 50s and 60s Hammer Horror era, I would say.
I'm glad you said Hammer Horror. Apparently, a lot of critics didn't refer to Hammer Horror. They all referred to other things, especially sexploitation, which weren't at all in the director Annabella's head, or the cinematographer's head, actually. But I watched the extras on the DVD, and the cinematographer talks about Hammer Horror as one of the influences. And I think the intention was just to get that sort of glamorous look, to move away from the sort of more soft light realist look that we have now, and go back to that glamorized look, you know, of everyone looking overly beautiful and colours everywhere. Technicolor,
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that definitely is a massive influence, and it really carries through for the film because you're watching it, you really feel like it's a period piece. Like when I was watching the film, I kept forgetting it was made recently. I kept thinking it was about, oh, this is a film from the 50s or the 60s. And then you see like a mobile phone, or you see like a modern car. Oh yeah, this was made 2 years ago.
But there seems to be like slightly easier race relations, and the very first thing that the minor character Trish says when she meets Elaine is, "Oh, you're so pretty."
You're so pretty. Oh, I didn't mean anything. I'm married and everything.
No, I didn't think anything.
But obviously in a 50s or 60s film, that wouldn't even be touched upon, you know, because it's
yeah, because
horrendous.
it is set in the modern day, isn't it? It's not a period piece.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, the costumes look like they're not. The hairstyles are dated.
Yeah.
The acting, especially.
Send me a beautiful, sweet man.
Some of the cinematography, like get like old-fashioned zooms, is intentionally meant to look like an old film, isn't it?
Yeah, although I did read somewhere that the director was getting frustrated with people that kept referring to it as a parody or as a pastiche of the old films.
Well, I think she's sort of fighting against the...
She's fighting against herself, really.
Yeah, because it obviously is a pastiche, at least. I don't think it's a parody. I think that's what she was getting upset about, is that people were sort of saying she's making fun of something, and to her it wasn't about that. It was about her love of it.
Yeah, I think her big issue was that people weren't taking it seriously as a feminist piece. They were kind of dismissing it as being sexploitation. That was the big word that she had a problem with, sexploitation.
Yeah, I think and feminist in terms of like from the perspective of a woman.
Well, guys can't handle their emotions too well. That's why they don't like heavy conversations.
So should we talk about the main character?
Yeah, let's get into the plot of the film as well. We may as well. So it's about a witch called Elaine. She's recently left her husband. Her husband's been killed, we assume, by her.
Yeah. It's pretty heavily implied, isn't it, that she's murdered him.
Poor Jerry.
Yeah, so she's left this relationship and she's going to a new town to start her life again and find love.
Although we won't go into this much too much, but she's also part of a witch coven, which is another sort of subplot aspect of it.
Yeah, and witches, they're kind of like accepted in this society, aren't they?
I think it's funny because they talk about witches being more accepted in the past, don't they? They talk about, it used to be everyone was okay with it, so now everyone seems to be have a sort of growing. Do you think that was a comment on feminism?
No.
Oh, okay.
Blessed be Pariah.
Go home, witches! Go home.
There is one line where she's driving along, and in her internal monologue she's talking about how, to her, magic isn't magic as we understand it, Harry Potter, but it's about a confidence of knowing what you want and knowing how to get it.
Well, she says she heightens emotions that are already there.
Yeah.
So if people love her, she gives them drugs and stuff to make them love her more.
Yes, and that's when That's kind of what makes it interesting, and where it gets difficult to find that divide about whether or not she is the protagonist who we're supposed to love, or if she's actually an anti-hero. Because the first time she uses one of her drugs on a man, she complains about him having an unpleasant reaction to it.
Yeah.
And then eventually it kills him, and she sort of blames it on him.
Yeah.
And not the fact that she seemed to be poisoning him.
What a pussy.
It sets it up for us to judge her, to judge what her actions and what she's doing, rather than to sympathise. We do. I mean, as a protagonist, she's great. She's much more interesting than any of the male characters by a long way.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I'll make you a nice dinner.
Yes, okay, sure.
But it's difficult to sympathise with her because of her actions. It's difficult to sort of frame exactly what the message of the film is, because sometimes it looks like some sort of ironic comment on how some men view women, and at other times you could be saying, well, no, is it literally just that she is just crazy, and her looks kind of help her to get away with it?
It's very cynical about the patriarchy. It's very sarcastic, and she's completely bought into the patriarchy.
Giving men sex is a way of unlocking their love potential.
You sound as if you've been brainwashed by the patriarchy.
I took it as being, following this kind of patriarchy is just ridiculous and stupid, and this person has done terrible things because of it, because she buys into all that, and it's been a kind of sarcastic look at how that patriarchy works. But then, in other ways, it's not like showing women as being particularly powerful or good, because she is essentially murdering these people, and she does have to get saved by a man at one point. I don't really feel the director knew essentially what she was going for. I think she just liked the look of it. She likes that old style of filmmaking. She likes that glamour. I've heard her in interviews talk about that glamour as being feminine, which I don't necessarily think it is. I think that's a very old, traditional way of looking at femininity. I think today it's very different, so what she made could only have worked in the styles that she made it. And then making it a contemporary piece kind of makes it confused for me.
Use sex magic to destroy his fear of you and to open his heart to the floodgates of love. Only then will he begin to see you as a human being with all of your inner beauty.
Because it is aping off these older films, which weren't very sympathetic to women.
Yeah.
And weren't very nice about just women in general. So it's trying to copy that, but be sarcastic, but also copy it at the same time. But then, now we're going back to being sarcastic and pointing fun at it.
Yeah.
It's kind of going between these two extremes, I think, which is why it's a bit divisive, I guess.
Because the more you know him, the more you love him.
The more you get to know a woman, the less you can feel about her.
I don't get the impression that she's that naive, is what I'm saying, Annabella. She's the writer, director, set designer and stuff like that. She's apparently got a huge...
Oh yeah, she
pretty
much did everything
on the film.
Yeah. She sewed all the costumes and things like that by hand, which is incredible attention to detail. Well, I think it is smart. I'm not saying it's not. But to then complain that people are looking at it as a pastiche work is a bit naive.
But then from a visual perspective, I think there's enough to enjoy there without thinking about any of the subtext at all.
Oh yeah, definitely. That is the real selling point for the film, is its style and its look. A lot of colour, a lot of bold use of colour. It's overly lit.
Yeah, it's a hard light, they call it.
I'm pretty sure it comes out of using cheaper film stock. So you have to light the scene a lot more than you normally would, which was a common trait of kind of films that were trying to ape Hollywood films but couldn't get the budgets to actually match the production values. So it's a very low budget 50s look, which she definitely achieved.
Well, that's also what's quite impressive about it, though. Is how well done that is, to the point where the actress, she genuinely looks like she could have been an actress at that time, and her style of acting. And I just go into all the things about how she directed the actors, you know, because the directors who would have been used to be told that style of acting is dated, is wrong, you can't do that, you know, don't do that, don't touch it, and now having to do that in a modern film.
Here's a picture of him. Ever seen him before?
No. I guess I can't help you, Sergeant. Goodbye.
A lot of the performances did remind me of like an old episode of Star Trek or something as well, the original series.
I did burst out laughing at a few points just because of how stilted the dialogue is.
Yeah.
So you're an artist?
Yes, I am.
I'm an interior decorator.
Oh, really?
Yes.
The acting styles, they flowed quite well because they all had that same, they seem to all have that discipline of having the same level of over the top. Actually, with the exception of Trish, maybe there's something
she's
about
British.
her.
I think it's because she's British.
You think that took me out a bit, yeah.
Well, because personally, we obviously know the British accent more.
Yeah.
So we can pick out the nuances of whether people are acting or whether they're speaking naturalistically.
It did feel like it put on, didn't it? More so than the others.
I don't need to please Richard. We could go together if you don't mind the company. Maybe next time. Yes, I suppose so. You look gorgeous. I love what you've done with your hair. Where were we? Men. I thought I may have overdone it.
But that's what makes it interesting, because you know that is framed in that way for a reason.
Yeah, that's a deliberate stylistic choice, but it's also a bit of a cop-out. It's like you can't do any wrong there, can you? If your dialogue's really bad, you just go, yeah, well, that's the style, isn't it? Everything's really bad. So it's a bit of a cop-out. But that was what brought the most joy for me watching the film, was just it just made me laugh.
Who says I'm in love with her? Get the hell off my back!
Two policemen are looking at a body that's underground and it's been buried. And I think the person's like ex-girlfriend or something is behind them, and she's just crying. And they're just like, well, let's dig this body up. Yeah. And it's just like...
We're going to have to dig, Steve.
And a lot of the dialogue is like that, you know. But it's so cleverly done, because it really, really does make you think you're watching an old film. Because this film looks clean, but the way that the hard light is used really gives you a feel that it's just like an old film that's been remastered or something on Blu-ray, you know.
I think that's the attention to detail as well, more than anything else. Just everything that's been thrown into the mise-en-scène is just excellent in this. I kept forgetting this was a modern film.
Yeah.
I just... complete immersion in it, I think. I had my film head on watching it, going, oh, well, that's an interesting shot. I like
and you couldn't
that.
not have your film head on, that's right. Like Wurzel Gummidge.
Just swap it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right, Blue. Oh, cool. I couldn't half fancy you. Yeah.
If I didn't have that on, I don't think I would have enjoyed it at all, to be honest. Yeah, because there's no like character development or plots, really, is there? It's just this woman does this, and this.
From the most superficial perspective, you know, it's a sexy film. So, do you think maybe this could be a film for film enthusiasts or cineasts?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, cinephiles.
It's for people that go to those old kind of midnight screenings of really old B movies, and they like that kind of Fright Fest.
Well, there we go. It's presented by Fright Fest. You can't escape from the fact that it is aimed at a particular audience, I think.
An audience that's smart enough not to take it at face value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also to appreciate the way it harps off of Hammer as well.
Well, yeah. You've got to understand the context of it to kind of get what it's about. Otherwise, it can be a bit dry, I guess.
Yeah.
The first day we met, you were envious of me because I had a man and you were all alone. Now it's the reverse. Life is funny, isn't it?
Trish, I'm sorry, I've got to go.
A lot of critics loved it for different reasons to what the director liked, which I think it shows she made a different film than what she wanted to, I think. And the whole kind of death of the author thing, you know, it doesn't matter that the critics loved it in a different way to her. they still found a point to it, and I think there is a point to it.
Yeah, but do you think if you made a huge film, but everyone completely missed the message, how do you think you'd feel about that? And everyone loved it still, but just got the wrong message out of it.
It's difficult to say. How can you say, oh, you didn't like it for the reasons I wanted you to like it
it's
for?
difficult. You'd have to be really self-centered, wouldn't you, to get upset about that, I suppose. But then it would depend if it was like how political that film was, I suppose.
Yeah, but personally, I understand the death of the author. If I ever make something, I understand that people can take it in whatever direction they want to. It's kind of this idea of, you know, like when people remake their own films, they do a director's cut and then the final cut, naming no Blade Runners, but yeah. But it's this kind of, oh, I want to try and make it perfect the way I want it all the time. I don't think filmmaking's like that. I think it's, you write a script, you do a storyboard, and then you make a completely different film from either of those. And just from like budget and time constraints and all these different things, it's a collaborative process, and the thing you put out at the end is its own unique thing that anyone can take and make what they want with it. I think that's what's happened here. So, did you like this film, Sam?
Yeah, but then I'm a pretentious film student, so and I found out I didn't used to like Hammer Horror, that I somehow made myself like it, and so I appreciated it more because of that. Yeah,
I'm really on the fence with this one, which I know is the most boring place to be.
Yeah.
But I really loved the production of it. I did get a bit bored because it's too long and just the same thing keeps happening over and over again. And I didn't...
Yeah, I think I appreciated it, watching it in repeat viewings, actually, more than the first time I watched it. In which case I was like, oh, that's all right, but, you know. And I appreciated it more looking at it meticulously and just appreciating how much hard work went into it.
Yeah.
Which is not the way to sell a film. But... yeah, maybe it's the target audience was a bit too small, I guess.
Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
Do you have a favourite scene?
Yeah, I really like the Renaissance scene. I don't know why. I think maybe it's the only song... There's songs in the film. It's the only song that I didn't hate.
We're pretending to be in love today, but pretending is also real.
I don't know, I just really like this Jester character. There's just something about it. A completely, what could well be just a meaningless character, just really drew me to it. Something about it drew me to that character. But he's really expressive, and I think he really looks like he's loving it.
That was my least favourite scene.
Did you have a favourite?